All right, so in this video, I want to talk to you about how to actually generalize findings from a research study. So if you don't know me, I'm Professor Dave Maslach. I'm an associate professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I want to pay the favor forward to help you out as much as I possibly can. So how do you actually generalize findings from a research study? Actually, it's pretty easy if you start thinking about what you're trying to do. There's really three elements to every research study that we do, or that, there may be more components, but these are the three big things, right? There is a theory that you have, there is the setting or context that you're actually working with, and then you have different methods that you are using to analyze a particular thing. And so what you want to do in terms of generalizing and making the thing a little bit more generalizable is really thinking about those three different components and thinking about how yours are situated, or your study is situated relative to those particular aspects of a study, right? So what is it that your study does that is both similar to and different from the theoretical perspectives or the theory that other people have talked about in the past, right? So if you're talking about, I don't know, in terms of, for us, it might be, talking about or for my field, maybe it's a resource-based view or something like that, or something to do with, for me, particularly, I'm interested in learning. So, what is it that other people that are interested in learning and decision making have talked about in the past? And how is my study similar to what they've talked about? And as well as, how is it different from what they've actually talked about, right? So those things are really important. Then you also have to think about the different, settings that people have mentioned and or studied before, and the context, the specific context that you're doing a study in. So maybe you're looking at, for me, maybe it's decision making or risk taking, and you look at fighter pilots. So you might talk to people that are doing, that are in the fighter, that are fighter pilots. You do a sample of, 200 fighter pilots from different militaries around the world, and you see how they deal with risk taking. And that would be interesting, because then you can compare it with other sort of like-minded studies that have done similar things. So maybe if somebody is done research on somebody that does cliff diving, for example, or doing research on risk taking with race car driving, and then you talk to those people and see how those are similar. But then also you think about other settings that are related to those particular things that are specifically just risk taking. So people doing risky sexual things, and looking at the studies of people that have done risky sexual things or something like that. All of those kind of components, and then you talk about how it's similar and different to those particular settings in terms of, what you're actually trying to do. And the similarity component of it is definitely the generalizability component of it, but also you want to talk about how yours is different and unique compared to what other people have done in the past. That's why you're actually doing the study, right? You don't want to do something that everybody else has done before. You're looking to see what's different there. Now, a third thing is looking at how your study actually generalizes to different methods. So we can choose to do all sorts of different kinds of methods in terms of studying this thing. It's unlimited, actually. I would say it's pretty unlimited in terms of how you're going to study something and some particular phenomenon. All sorts of different ways of, maybe it's doing interviews, or you observe what's going on, or maybe you do some sort of intervention, some sort of experiment. You do and this is true in both the natural sciences and as well as the social sciences, right? We could do all sorts of different kinds of ways to see how things work. It's not just experiments. And so if you're thinking about that in terms of what's going on, you have to think about, okay, well, let's say I actually talk to these fighter pilots. Well, then how is talking and doing interviews with fighter pilots different than what other people have done? Maybe people have done, there's simple experiments that people have done, and how is that different than those simple experiments that people have done in terms of looking at risk taking? Or, what are we kind of insights are we getting? And if it's really cool, we're getting some really unique insights, that actually is the thing that's novel. That's what you're trying to do. But then you also say it's kind of generalizable to these other settings, or these other methods that people have done before. So maybe people have observed fighter pilots doing risky things, and then so you talk about, well, how my interviews are similar to what people have observed, and then how is it different? What are we getting here, right? We might be getting sort of insights in how they're actually thinking rather than just observing their behaviors, which are different, and we might want to acknowledge that. So there's all sorts of ways that you can generalize. Those are the three things. I think those are the three heavyweight things. But once you start doing this and you step back and you say, what is the theory that I'm using? What is the, in theory, in the social, or in this hard sciences, might be the model that you're using, the equation that you're using. How is that similar to what other equations have done in the past? And then, you might be looking at the settings. Why am I studying this particular setting? So you might be looking at chemical reactions or something, and you study a swamp, right? You go into a marsh and you study chemical reactions in a marsh. Well, that's kind of interesting. Why is that different than other particular areas in terms of what is going on? And then, what are the methods that you're actually using? So you might be sampling. If you're going into a marsh, you might be sampling the water and seeing what the chemical reactions are going on there. And how is it actually different than what other people have done? Maybe something in the lab or something along those lines. So with that, hopefully you like this video and it's helpful. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel, and good luck with your research study. Bye.